Hi everyone and welcome to week 5 of Introduction to Psychology. In the 2 lectures of next week we're going to talk about emotion and social psychology.
Yes, in social psychology we once again see that the whole is more than the sum of the parts, which was already stated by the Gestalt psychologists. And you also see that new properties emerge as there are interactions among elements in a system, and this especially shows off in teams of people working together. Well, unexpectedly, the origin of social psychology coincides with that of sports psychology. We have to go back to the beginning of the next century when a young American researcher, Triplett, was investigating bicycle races and racers to study their performance when they were alone or when they were in groups. He took all kinds of interesting measurements and demonstrated a special group effect. We will learn about that more in the lecture.
Indeed, and we're also going to talk about emotions. And actually we already covered some pretty important concepts of emotions when we talked about somatic markers, this idea proposed by Antonio Damasio. So just to remind you, for example, imagine that you're afraid, then you may get sweaty armpits. And those sweaty armpits are sort of a bodily signal that indicate our mental state, our emotional state of fear, of nervousness. And that idea of somatic markers is also very central to the so-called James Lange theory of emotions, which holds that we evaluate our emotions very much based on these somatic markers. Now we're also going to talk about other topics related to emotion, things such as eating, which is not really an emotion per se. Hunger is not really an emotion per se, but it is nevertheless an important drive, a motivation. And also sexuality, which is also of course not an emotion, but it is a very strong drive that we have. Now, and in the following concept video, we're going to take a look at the basic theories of emotion.
How do we experience emotions? Let's look at how 3 different theories explain Quinn's happiness when she's asked to join a band she loves. The James Lange theory states that emotions are the result of perceiving our bodily responses to a stimulus, in this case, the offer to join the band. According to this theory, Quinn gets the offer, her heart rate increases, and she then perceives this bodily response as happiness. A different explanation, the Cannon-Bard theory, states that a stimulus triggers a bodily response and an emotion at the same time. According to this theory, when Quinn gets the offer, her heart rate increases and she experiences happiness at the same time. But how does Quinn distinguish between emotions that share bodily responses? Being asked to join the band increases her heart rate, but so would running into a giant grizzly bear. The Schachter-Singer two-factor theory states that after a stimulus triggers a bodily response, we apply a label that interprets that response based on the stimulus, which results in emotion. According to this theory, Quinn gets the offer, her heart rate increases, she attributes her bodily response to the good news, labels it as, "they like me," and then feels happiness. So, let's review the 3 theories. The James Lange theory states that emotions are the result of perceiving a bodily response to a stimulus. The Cannon-Bard theory states that a bodily response and an emotion occur at the same time following a stimulus. And the Schachter-Singer two-factor theory states that an emotion is the result of an interpretive label we apply to a bodily response to a stimulus. Can you explain recent positive and negative emotions you have felt using each of these theories?
Okay, this was an interesting video about emotions. Emotions are also involved in many social relationships, so they will play a role as well in social psychology. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.